Hello, I'm Katherine Artines. Thanks for joining me for this short video showing tips on organizing your design files on your computer. Please keep in mind that this is a video, which means you can watch it repeatedly as you need it, and you might need to rewatch certain parts. None of us remembers what we hear only once. Well, none of us over a certain age, that is. I'll make the assumption that you know how to use the mouse and what a hard drive is. You'll see that I am working with Windows 7 on a PC, not a Mac. As you begin learning about computers and file management, you hear the terms files and folders, and very often the comparison to a filing cabinet. It's a good one to use because that's exactly how files are organized. A folder is just what you know it to be, a manila folder in a file cabinet that holds different papers. Each paper, whether single sheet or multiple sheets stapled together, is considered a file. In our case, one embroidery design. So a folder holds files, usually grouped together in a common theme or some type of similarity. For computer use, a folder can have folders within it called subfolders. Sub means under. You would use a subfolder to help organize additional groups of similar designs under a given heading. Sometimes it helps if you think of a family tree. A parent is a folder, and the child a subfolder. If this child has children, they also have a subfolder. Sometimes a person can be both a child and a parent if they have their own children, and they can be that at the same time. So too with a folder. It can be both a parent folder and a subfolder. It depends if you're going up the tree or down the tree. This is also why you'll hear a hard drive configuration called the tree. Let's create some folders. No matter how many folders or subfolders we create for our embroidery files, the hard drive, which is C:, is the parent of all. For the majority of people with a home computer or a laptop, the hard drive is designated as C:. To see the folders and files on your hard drive, we go into Windows Explorer, which is a file management application. There are a few different ways to get there, but I'll show you the one I use. If you're comfortable with your own way, certainly use it. Down on the taskbar, very bottom left corner, you see the Start button. Rest your mouse on it and right-click. Then click on whatever option is given you for the Explorer, depending on your operating system. I'm in Windows 7, so mine says Open Windows Explorer. I'll click on that. If the Explorer screen doesn't fill up your monitor screen, maximize it by clicking in the second of these three buttons here at the top. If you didn't see any option for Windows Explorer under Start, chances are you did a left click and not a right click. Windows Explorer is divided into two main sections, the left side and the right side. On the left side, you see headings: Favorites, Libraries, Home Group, Computer. The Computer heading has a minus sign to the left. That means that this particular heading has already been expanded to show you what's underneath it. In this case, it is showing us all of our drives. If we were to click on the minus sign to collapse it, we would then just see the heading for Computer. Clicking on the plus again shows us those items. We are interested in the hard drive. We know that is indicated by the C:. It also has a plus sign to it. If we click on the plus sign, we see the hard drive expanded to see all of the folders on this particular computer. We'll scroll up a little bit and see that all of our other headings are still there. We just have the hard drive expanded. When you see a box to the left of any folder name that has a plus to it, it is indicating to you that those are subfolders available. If I were to click on that plus, I see that indeed there are subfolders under that heading. If I click on the minus, It collapses that folder, so I just see the folder name. If you see a folder that has no box to the left, it means that there are no subfolders under that particular folder. In this case, it just has files in it. If I were to come over and click on the C drive, you see all the subfolders listed and some individual files. The icons are showing us some information as well. A closed lock next to the file means that this is a system file that is locked, and we really shouldn't bother it. In fact, for the general user, most of the folders on the hard drive are not our concern. They are there for things to run smoothly. When we look in this folder, we see other types of icons. Here we have this icon indicating a PDF. We have another down here. If you see pages, those are indicating document files, such as these Word documents, and here's one down here from Publisher. Because I have some C2S files in this folder, it indicates that this was done as an inspiration software, Perfect Embroidery Pro. You see a number of those icons. To control how you see your files, locate your View button depending on your operating system. Remember, I'm in Windows 7, so my View button is right up here in the top right corner of the gray bar. If you have Windows 8, you'll see yours under a View tab. If you're working with Vista, you'll see you have a View heading with a drop-down arrow. Coming over here to our view, I will click on the drop-down arrow and you see a number of choices that I have. My current is List. If I were to change to Details, you see just that. Information given as to the date the file was last modified, the type of file it is, and the size of the file. Let's go back under View, use our drop-down, and this time choose Large icons. And as you see, larger pictures of the types of files that I have in this particular folder. I've actually put this folder together on purpose with lots of different kinds of files so that you could see them. Once again, here is that icon for a PDF file. You see the pages blown up for the Word files, also for the Publisher file, but you also see the designs that are in those C2S files, the individual embroidery files that I created under Perfect Embroidery Pro. You'll also notice a few JPEGs, this clock, and these two pictures that have come from a recent article in Designs in Machine Embroidery magazine. If you're wondering how I can see what my designs look like instead of just seeing the names, I have a great software installed on my computer called Perfect Stitch Viewer Inspired by Dime. It turns the Explorer into your personal embroidery image gallery, supporting all major embroidery stitch formats. It can be purchased from your local dime dealer. If I were to contract the C drive, we look again in the left column and we see the drives that are located on this particular computer. How many drives you see depend on how many devices you have plugged into the USB ports. The hard drive, as we know, is designated by the C colon. The D colon usually designates the DVD or CD drive. I currently have a DVD in this particular drive called Crazy Quilting. Way back in the early days of computers, the A and B drives were floppy drives used to boot up the computer and to store data. Once the operating systems could boot internally, these drives were no longer put on computers, and the hard drive was given the designation of C colon. Depending on your computer and its number of ports, you may have additional USB drives such as E, F, G, H, etc. USB stands for Universal Serial Bus. It is an industry standard that connects devices like mouse, headset, flash drive, digital camera, printers, scanners, external hard drives, and the like to your computer. Each port has a designated letter specific to the computer or the laptop. If you have both a desktop computer and a laptop, when you insert your flash stick in one USB drive on the desktop, it might read as the E drive. If you take that same flash stick and plug it into a USB drive on your laptop, it might read as the F drive. It just depends on the operating system and/or the flash stick. More on flash sticks later. For right now, we are concerned only with the hard drive C:. We find it here on the left under Computer. We'll go ahead and expand and take a look again at those folders. Once again, computers come with many files, the majority of which we should leave alone. They help the computer or software run properly, but there are a lot to scroll through to find your embroidery files. So I suggest making a folder just for them. What we want is to make it easy for you to always find your embroidery files. Since it is simple to locate the C drive, always at the top under Computer, we want our embroidery folder to be towards the top of those on the hard drive. In school, the way we first learned to organize items was to put them in alphabetical or numerical order. Here in Explorer, you can see that my folders are in alpha order, and we see some that start with numbers. A refresher from grade school days about filing. In filing, we have these two filing rules. Numbers come before letters, and nothing comes before something. Here, numbers coming before letters, we see our numbers listed first and then our alphabetical order. Since the computer reads from left to right, it does not care that the number 97 is smaller than the number 175. It simply reads that ones come before nines. Nothing comes before something. Arc is all that's typed there, so that would come before arc with a space and a W. The name Boyd with just the letter J comes before Boyd James. Nothing after the J comes before A in James. Keeping in mind these filing rules, we're going to name your embroidery folder. And here's our trick. We're going to start the folder name with a 0, put a space in with a space bar, and then type in My Embroidery Files. We know that numbers come before letters. The fact that we're using a 0, which is the smallest number, will guarantee that it's right up towards the top. To have nothing, we are actually going to put a space from the keyboard. So 0 space, My Embroidery Files. If you share your computer with others at home, you may want to put your name instead of the word my. Using your name or the words mom or dad's followed by the word embroidery tells anyone who shares your computer that it's your stuff and that it's nothing they would be interested in. If you just called it mom's, you can bet your kids would take a look and perhaps mess around with your files. To create a folder, we want to rest our mouse on the drive or folder in the left column, which is to be the parent. In this case, the hard drive. We're going to rest on the hard drive. We right-click, come down to the option for New, come across to Folder, and click on Folder. We are now resting in that new folder name. You don't even have to click down there. You are already there. We'll type in with our trick 0 spacebar My Embroidery Files. To end, we'll simply hit the Enter. Notice that it goes up towards the top. The other sample folder that I created prior to this video is on top, but you see that I still used my trick with a 0 and a space. The folder is created under C because we did the right click on the hard drive. You create a subfolder the same way, with the most important point being you right-click on the folder that will act as the parent. So in this case, My Embroidery Files will be the parent. I right-click on that, come down to New, and click on Folder. I'm going to name that one Alphabet. Enter to end. I want another. Go back up to what will be my parent, My Embroidery Files, right-click, New, Folder. I'm going to call this one Christmas. And finally, let's do one more. Right-click, New, folder. Sometimes you might want to create a subfolder for a company that you buy from. At any time with these subfolders, we can go and create an additional subfolder. In this case, under Christmas, I might have many Santa designs. So I would right-click on Christmas, which will now be my parent for my new Santa folder, come down for New, choose Folder, type in the name, and enter to accept it. A word of caution, don't go crazy with subfolders. You should have at least 5, maybe 8 similar files, enough to justify a group or subfolder. You wouldn't waste an entire drawer in a filing cabinet with just 2 folders in it, right? Obviously, we want to give a folder a logical name. But what seems perfectly logical today makes no sense 3 weeks from now. If you do find yourself wanting to give a file a different name, we simply rest on that file. Resting on Christmas, and I'm going to right-click, and instead of choosing New, this time I'm going to choose Rename. It allows me to be on that name, and I simply type in the new name that I think is more appropriate. Enter to end. I'd like to give a few words about click and right-click. Since I am new to most of you, a little explanation for the way I do things. When I say click on, I will always mean a normal click with your left mouse button. If I need you to right-click, I will always be specific and say right-click. I hear over and over, I never know whether to left or right-click. So here's the explanation for your choosing. The only time you use a right-click is to access a hidden shortcut menu for the object you have selected or are resting on. The right-click brings up shortcut menu for a number of the things that are available for us to do to that folder. If I were to come over to the right side of the screen and right-click on alphabets, you'll see that there is no New option for folder because I'm not allowed to do that technique over in the right side of Explorer. Once again, if I come over to the left side and I right-click on alphabets, I do see the ability to do New folder. Whenever you do a right-click, you will only see the shortcuts for those procedures that you are allowed to do. That's it. The original reason and the only reason we were given a right-click was to access hidden shortcut menus. So you will hear me say click or right-click. Having created a folder just for your embroidery designs and creating subfolders under it based on your design collections or projects, you can see this would be a good way for you to begin to organize your embroidery design stash. If you already have your designs organized in some fashion, I would still encourage you to create the main embroidery folder with the 0 and space trick, and then copy or move all of your designs under it. In working with the inspiration software from Dime, another folder to be aware of is the Dime folder. We know that the folders are in alphabetical order, so if we scroll down to see the Dime folder, we see it has a plus sign. We click on that to expand. We see the folders that are under there. Click on the plus sign to expand designs. We have the Dime Free Designs folder as well as the free designs that come with each of the software packages. When you download your free monthly designs, they go into the Dime Free Designs folder as a subfolder with the month and the year as the name. Logical, right? If we click on a month, July 2015, we see all of those files that are given to us for that particular month. Take a look at the top line of the Explorer. Do you see how it shows you what folders you've traveled through to get where we currently are? We started with computer, went to C:, the hard drive, into the Dime folder, into the Designs folder, into the Dime Free Designs folder, and finally into the July 2015 folder. This is called the path, which makes sense because we have traveled down a path to get from one point to another. The path is something you should get comfortable with because the very last item listed in the path will be the folder and the resting place for the individual files in that folder. The final thing I'd like to cover is for the new users who want to know how to get their embroidery designs from the hard drive or CD to their machines. Most machines today use a flash drive, so called because it uses a flash memory, which is a type of computer chip, to transfer designs from computer to embroidery machine. Other names for it are thumb drive, flash stick, memory stick, jump drive, or simply USB. If your embroidery machine requires something other than a flash drive, please work with your dealer for your specific needs. If you use a flash drive, plug it into your desired USB port and then do the right-click on Start Explore. We've already done that. To find the drive, you might need to scroll down to find the removable disk with the letter E, F, G, or H as its designation. Another suggestion I'd like to give you, if your embroidery machine can read folders, is to create a folder on your flash drive that will hold the embroidery designs you are currently working with. And again, ideally, that folder would be at the top of the list of all of the files on that flash drive. Let's do that. My machine shows the removable disk or flash drive as E. Right-click on the flash drive designation, come down to New, Folder. We're going to use our shortcut trick again with our 0 space, and I like to call mine Stitch Outs. Enter to end. In doing so, we have put our new subfolder right at the very top. With our folder created, we're going to scroll back up to find the designs that we'd like to stitch out. I'll expand the hard drive, and in this case, I'm going to use my actual folder for my embroidery files. I'll click on the plus to expand. I look for alphabets, click on that to expand. The one I'd like to use today is the Enchanted Monogram alphabet. I'll click to expand, and it's the 4x4 that we're going to use. Remember, I can see my files because over here on View, I have the large icon selected, and I also have the special software installed. I will right-click on the file that I want to stitch out, come down to Copy, scroll down to my folder for stitch outs. I right-click on that folder and choose Paste. To make sure it's worked, I can click on Stitch Outs and I see my file right there. If I'd like, I can come over to my large icons under View and see that design. Let's repeat it. We'll scroll back up to find the file holding those alphabets. Once again, it was Enchanted Monogram 4x4. In this case, I'd now like to use the K. Right-click on K, copy, scroll down to the drive, right-click Stitch Outs, and paste. Notice that unless I click on this folder, my letters are still showing. If you know you want multiple files from a folder, click on the first one, hold down your Control key, and select the files that you want to use. We're going to right-click in any one of these chosen files, right-click within, copy, right-click on Stitch Outs, paste. If you want to select all of the files, choosing one and doing a Control-A combination on the keyboard will allow you to select all. There are other ways to do this procedure, but for now, as beginners, this is the safest way for you to get your designs to your flash drive. And while I have your attention, let me remind you that a flash drive is a transfer medium only. It should not be used for permanent storage of your designs. It will go bad. I once had a flash drive that worked perfectly one night. The next morning it was unusable. Another time I had a flash drive in my laptop and a student backed her chair into it and broke it in 2 pieces. So you should never have a design on your flash drive that you do not have somewhere else, on your hard drive, on the original CD, or on an external floppy drive. It should be backed up somewhere. If the designs that you want to use are on a CD or DVD, we have that CD or DVD placed in the computer drive. Click on the plus to expand, find the designs that you want to use. In this case, I have the Crazy Quilting DVD already in my drive. I have expanded the drive to see the individual subfolders. I want to expand the plus for accent designs, and you'll notice that in this case, they have subfolders of the different machine formats. I have a baby lock that uses PEZ files, so I would click on the PEZ subfolder, right-click on the design I wish, copy it, scroll down, find my Stitch Out folder, right-click, and paste. It's the same procedure in copy-paste as we did prior to something that was on the hard drive for anything that you have on a CD or DVD. No matter how far down we might be in the list of folders on our hard drive, knowing that our embroidery file folder is at the top, we always scroll towards the top and it's very easy for us to find. Certainly there is more information about Windows Explorer, but this video should give you a better basic understanding of organizing and finding your embroidery designs. I'm Katherine Artines, and I'm glad you joined me today. Now, go create something fun in your inspiration software.